Plymouth and Jamestown not only survive, they flourish. This brings the Great Migration, a flood of eager British colonists into New England. 20,000 are Puritans, cousins to the Pilgrims, Christian dissidents fleeing from persecution. As the ancestors of Franklin, Emerson, and Hawthorne, the Puritans will eventually help create a new American culture of self-reliance, individuality, and freedom. But the first Puritans are more concerned with God and land. Occupying that land are local Indian tribes like the Pequot and the Narragansett.
When the Europeans arrived along the Atlantic coast, they brought displacement because they took the land away. They brought disease, a whole host of diseases that Indians hadn't been exposed to, and of course they brought death. But the Indians weren't stupid. They learned how to trade. They learned how to carry on warfare with the whites, both as allies and as enemies. In fact, Indians and whites together formed an entirely new world for both of them.
In this new world, different dreams, different cultures, different visions of freedom all collide at once. The colonists ache for what they call the unused land around them. They believe they have the God-given freedom to take it. Their hunger would bring war. Chief Powhatan, Pocahontas' father, had once pleaded with the colonists for peace.
Why will you take by force what you may have quietly by love? Why will you destroy us who supply you with food? What can you get by war? Take away your guns and swords, the cause of all our jealousy, or you may all die in the same manner.
While some tribes, like the Iroquois, hold their own, others are utterly destroyed in local wars, like Powhatan's tribe in Virginia and the Pequot in New England. It is the shape of things to come. Pilgrim William Bradford had been saved by Squanto and the generosity of the Indians. But when it comes to land, Bradford is more than willing to send his Indian neighbors to their maker.
It was a fearful sight to see, the Pequot villagers thus frying in the fire, and the screams of blood quenching the same, and horrible was the stink and scent thereof. But the victory seemed a sweet sacrifice, and they gave praise thereof to God, who had wrought so wonderfully for them.
If the Puritans had bloody dealings with the Indians, they also refused to tolerate any dissent from their own people.
They, of course, came to America with freedom on their minds, religious freedom. But once they achieved that objective in coming to America and setting up their own independent settlements, we immediately face all sort of paradoxes. That is, beginning with the fact that they began to persecute people who did not believe the way they did. In other words, you're free to worship as long as you worship the way they worship and believe the way they did. And one wonders, what kind of notion of freedom is that?
For insisting on the separation between church and state and preaching tolerance, Minister Roger Williams is driven into the wilderness in the dead of winter. Yet, in the New World, dissent isn't so easily crushed. Unbowed, Williams founds a new community devoted to liberty. In time, it would become Rhode Island. It is one of the freest places in the entire world.